Welcome to the Wrong Advice Podcast. I'm your host, John Pacciuto, and I'm pleased to have my very first guest, Freya Drohan.
Yes.
Wow, very good. Freya is a good friend of mine. We've been friends for almost 7 years now. It might be longer. We're not entirely sure. She's got a dog on her lap who's losing his collective mind right now. But Freya, why don't you introduce yourself a bit?
I might have to before he eats this microphone. My name is Freya, and I'm from Ireland. And I remember I was still in Ireland when we first started talking on Twitter, and we just spoke a little bit about your career as a writer, and that's how I found you on Twitter. And
well, you were verified, so I was like, I need to talk to this verified girl so she could teach me how to get paid for writing.
I peaked too early with the verification, I think. I did used to work for the main newspaper back at home in Ireland, so going back, Twitter, I feel like it was only journalists and celebrities being verified back then, so it was very cool. But now, obviously, everyone can apply to be verified, and I'm like, I'm the bottom of the list.
I've been denied.
Damn it!
Like, I reply once a week. I just want the blue check mark. There are no other John Pacciutos. Yes. There should be one verified.
100%. There's no other Freya Drohans, and I feel like, oh my god, I've written for perhaps 20 publications at this stage, maybe more. So I don't know what else they want from me, like my firstborn child or something. I'd maybe give it at this stage. But that being said, I don't think it's necessary for me in my career to be verified on Instagram. But it is nice on Twitter. But I think as a writer, it's not that necessary.
Fair enough. And so you've been in the U.S. for like 6 years now?
It'll be 6 years this year.
Wow.
So it's like dog years. You never know how many years it actually is.
Well, the last 4 have felt very long.
Yeah, right. And I think every year I'm here feels like a mini life.
Yeah. Well, New York will do that to you.
Yes. And I did live in LA for the middle.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, for a year in the middle I lived in LA, which is something I always wanted to do. So I kind of ticked that off, and that kind of broke it up a little bit. And
which do you prefer, LA or New York? Obviously you've been here for 5 versus like say 1.
Yeah, I think New York 100%, mainly because of the people, really. I think that's a huge draw. Yeah, that's a huge draw, and there's just something about New York that I think LA lacks, and it's the spontaneity here that I know it's such a cliche, but anything can happen, and you can meet so many people in the space of one day, whereas LA, it's just really missing that because it's so driving, and I don't even drive, so like I walked everywhere.
You don't have a license, right?
I literally don't know how to drive, so I would walk everywhere. People would be like, are you okay? If I showed up and said I walked, they were like, what do you get, like 10,000 steps a day? I was like, well, that's kind of the average. That's what you should be getting wherever you are. They would think that was crazy that I could possibly have 10,000 steps, whereas I feel like in a day in New York, you can get that just by waking up.
Yeah.
So
just getting to work.
Yes, exactly. So I think New York just has it, whatever it is, and I ultimately moved here because I knew that I wanted to work in fashion.
That was my first question. How did you end up here? I mean, obviously, long way from home.
Literally was it. I wanted to work at a fashion magazine. So I gave up a lot, I think, when I moved here. I had the job I mentioned at the newspaper in Ireland, and I was like in a relationship at the time, and
Wow.
I had a lovely, I had my friends and family and everything in Ireland. Ireland's amazing. Love it so much, but I was like, it's working in fashion in New York or nothing. I have to go.
I love that.
Yeah.
Irish Carrie Bradshaw. I said Carrie kind of like Irishy, but that was unintentional.
Yeah, Carrie Bradshaw.
Carrie Bradshaw.
And honestly, that's another cliche about me, that I started watching Sex and the City when I was maybe 14 or something, and that was a real escapism moment for an hour when I would come home from school. My parents didn't know I was watching it, and I was supposed to be doing something else, I'm sure homework or something. I'd be the first to get home. I'd watch it on some dodgy LimeWire kind of thing. I still remember sitting in my school uniform, tucked up on the chair, watching the show. I couldn't believe that these people lived like this. And I was like, I have to go.
That's amazing.
I have to be there. Yeah.
What's up, little man? We have a puppy situation.
Crying.
He's very sad right now. He wants to eat the microphone.
Yeah.
So you were in a relationship in Ireland. And what was that conversation like when you were like, hey, I got a job. and I'm moving to New York.
Well, I didn't even have a job, so.
Okay. Oh wow, that is.
I'm sure
ballsy.
he felt really good about that.
Oh, not good.
I mean, it was, we were young, so I was 23, I guess.
Okay.
And we had only. I knew I was going to New York. Like, there was nothing getting in the way. And, I think the job would have been more of a reason to really stop and think about it, because media in Ireland is small. It is smaller than you think in New York, but in Ireland it's very small. So I was lucky enough to get a pensionable job out of college, and it wasn't enough. So I knew for even the last couple of years of college, I knew I was going to go, worked in the job for about a year and a half, knew every single day I was going to go. And then the relationship kind of only came into it in the last 9, 10, 11 months. And he was great about it. I haven't seen him in a while, but when I do see him, when I go home, we always we're on very good terms.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I would say a lot of my ex-girlfriends don't have that same relationship with me, and they're not nearly as far.
I think it is sometimes better to break up on those kind of terms.
Sure.
No one has done anything to each other. It's just it ran its course.
That's great.
Yeah.
I've got a few of those.
Yes.
I wish more than.
I know. Yeah. You always
So you came here as a bright-eyed 23-year-old.
Yes.
What was it like when you first got here? No job. I would assume no apartment. You were in a hotel or something, or
So I had only been here for maybe 2 or 3 days ever before I moved here.
Wow.
But obviously those 2 or 3 days were enough, and whatever visuals I had seen over the years, and whatever TV shows and movies were enough.
Amazing.
And I was lucky enough to move with 2 girls that I went to school with.
Okay.
So that definitely helps.
Sure.
It's like
You're
safety in numbers. Yeah. And
Yeah.
honestly, we just had so much fun. One of the girls, she's now in LA, which was another reason why I kind of wanted to take LA off the list as well, because she was there. Still great friends. Her uncle had been here for years, and he has a really interesting career. He used to be Bowie's guitarist.
No way.
Yeah, a bunch of other people. So he had this random apartment in the Bronx. Empty, except for a 4-poster bed. It was like a sitcom. It's 1 bedroom. The bed is in the middle of the sitting room, so the 3 of us lived in this apartment.
That's awesome.
Very quiet co-op. We were absolutely not supposed to be there. But we were all kind of on the same page. We were all waitressing, because we needed money.
Yeah.
And interning, working just around the clock, like really and truly getting up at God knows what hour, because we were
going to bed at what hour?
Yes. Sometimes there was a crossover there. But we were on 252nd and Broadway, and at the time I was actually interning in Chelsea. So every stop on the one, all the way back. Yeah. And the funny thing is, and I always think about this now, my first kind of stint being an intern at Fashion Week, I would read the magazine that I now work for.
That's
and I
amazing.
would take it on the subway home, because it was such a long journey, and I would read it for the whole 90 minutes and be like, I just want to work at a magazine, not necessarily has to be this one, but just was so desperate to find my place. And I just think.
So talk about coming full circle. I mean, literally, you're dreaming of working for a magazine,
Yes.
and now you're working for that magazine. I mean, you're basically living every young person's dream who moves to the big city. And
Yeah, I think I would never gloss over all the years that were in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
But it is funny to me that it did take that long. And had I have stayed in Ireland, maybe it would have been at the same job still. It was a very solid job. But I think it finally proved in the last, say, year and a half, 2 years, that it was all kind of worth it.
That's awesome. Now, obviously, this is a podcast. People can't see you.
Yes.
You work in fashion. You happen to be one of the most fashionable people I think I know.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, you have such an eclectic, amazing style. I mean, we're drinking out of vintage wine glasses. So, a couple questions.
Yes.
Where do you get your style from? Who are your style inspirations?
Okay.
How are you so chic and fabulous?
Oh God,
No pressure.
I don't know. I saw this question on your list. I was like, where do I get my style from? I think I get a lot of inspiration from music. That would be kind of a big point of reference for me, is 70s musicians, and for a lot of people, I'm sure. And those kind of groupies in the 70s. I love like looking at all
Almost Famous vibes.
Yeah, 100%. And I would say, like, I look at other people and I'm like, oh my God, you have the most incredible style that I could never pull off or never make work. You know, as you know, I mostly wear dresses because that's just what works for me. I think I probably struggled with my style a little bit growing up because...
As an outsider, I find that so surprising.
But I think it takes a while for you to lean into what you kind of are most comfortable in, what suits you the most. I think growing up in Ireland as well, we wouldn't have had access to, you know,
all these fabulous clothes.
Yeah, and that's not even that long ago. Say I'm 29 now, but you know, 15 years ago, I was like, there wasn't as many choices of places, and I definitely wasn't into vintage or anything back then. So I think I started to like really get into it the more I kind of made my own money as well, and I could afford to like experiment a little bit. At the end of high school, and also we wore a uniform every day. You know what I mean?
School?
So yeah, is it a Catholic school? I think it's a public school, so no, it actually isn't.
I'm just assuming. No, because in America, if you're wearing, it's usually like Catholic.
Well, the funny thing as well is when Americans think of, oh, you know, Catholic schoolgirl uniform, I'm like, no, our skirts were to the floor.
Under your shoes.
Yeah, we like used to wear, if anyone that I'm friends with ever listens to this, like we used to wear our pajamas underneath our school skirts.
That's funny.
Or tights or leggings because it was so cold. And the cooler you were, kind of the longer your skirt was. So you would be competing to have like your skirt trailing the floor.
You've come a long way.
Yeah, it was actually, funny enough, it was literally this color. Blue.
Oh, no way. Very, very Slytherin color vibes.
Yes.
Like dark green.
That royal blue and the tie and everything. It's so funny when I go home now and I see my younger siblings still wearing the uniform. But yeah, I think Ireland now, there's so much more, and that's even in the space of 15 odd years. So I think I kind of started to get more into like experimenting with style, and the more I kind of knew, oh, I really want to pursue fashion, and I would know designers and everything. But even like, I can't remember ever ordering something online when I was in Ireland.
Really?
I don't think so. I don't think e-commerce was that big.
It's come a long way in a short period of time, for sure.
Yes.
I mean, it's so, like, I don't go shopping at all.
Yeah,
ever.
I think most people would say the same. And now in Ireland, you know, you can be ordering from these amazing websites, whether it's in the UK or even the US. But back there, we just didn't do that.
Yeah.
So we used to almost like rotate our clothes when we would be going to nightclubs, which we shouldn't have been doing at 15, 16, 17.
Age, right?
It's 18. There is an age.
Okay.
But we definitely were skirting the rules a little bit. And we would share our clothes. So it'd be like rotating heads on whatever, like just tight
Who gets
short.
like dibs for the hot outfit for the night?
Yeah, well, it was all like basically the same dress in different colors. Like I haven't thought about this in so long, but it would almost look like you just swapped the heads on the photos from one week to the next, and like terrible
it's too bad
fake
Facebook
tan.
didn't exist then, right?
Oh yeah, if our Bebos get unearthed, like there is.
I don't know what that is.
Bebo?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Bebo was huge.
Is that like the Irish Facebook?
Yeah, but it was kind of like a little bit younger than Facebook.
Okay.
At the time, oh my God, Bebo was just lawless. Like absolutely crazy.
It's like MySpace.
It was huge. Like it was the Instagram.
Really? Can you imagine like these people had the Facebook before the Facebook, and then like now they're just...
Oh, and everyone is like in kind of agreement. Thank God. Whoever bought it or did something with it, everything has been destroyed, because just the actual state of whatever we were doing, it should not be remembered on the internet.
Yeah, no arguments. I think we are of the... I guess probably we're millennials, right?
I think we count as millennials, yeah.
37 to 20 or something like that.
Oh, then we're still in, yeah.
Yeah. Thank God that these things didn't exist when we were kids. I mean, I'm sure...
We were literally talking about it on Sunday, how you would wake up, you know, after a night out and get a notification like you've been tagged in 200 photos, and someone would have had a digital camera for whatever reason. And in Ireland, it was a big thing to be tagged in your... like the club would have a photographer.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
Probably was a thing here
on
too.
On the club webpage.
Oh my, you would be traumatized the next morning, being like, no, tell me.
Who was that kissing in the corner?
Yeah, awful.
That's so funny.
So I definitely was not always as kind of into how I dressed.
Which to me is like, obviously, I mean, a complete shock, because like I said, you have the coolest style. Like it's hard. We'll post some pictures on the Instagram and stuff, and just to like. It's cool. It's totally unique. It's not like something that I've been like accustomed to or like
Yeah, I
around?
do, and I do. Thanks for saying that. 'Cause I do try and like purposefully not really go for trends.
I love that.
If I go for a trend, it's kind of like I'm dressing up in
Sure.
a sense, or like I'm doing it for some kind of experimental reason. Just like, can I do this? But every day I kind of just have like a formula, and my formula, ironically, is like I don't like anything to match or mix.
Interesting.
So if I'm wearing print, I'll wear like 2 other prints that clash with it.
I like that.
Yeah, or like if I'll mix I feel like I mix a lot of music with maybe like a Western
Vibes.
influence. Yeah, so I might be doing like a kind of 70s dress and then like a band jacket and a cowboy boot or something like that would be a kind of normal just going out in the morning.
Well, I mean, you pull it off. And I mean,
Thank
hashtag
you.
style goals for all you girls out there who need a
Thank
style
you, that's
icon.
very nice of you.
Freya can do that for you. I think it's funny because we met via the internet many years ago because I used to write. You are an actual paid writer. Where do you get your inspiration from for your pieces? I mean, obviously, I'm not saying like when someone gives you like, you have to write this story for this, whatever. What like inspires you from a writing perspective? Because I've struggled for years with ideas.
It is tough, and we were speaking about this before as well. I find it hard to mind my personal life a lot of the time. So often what I'm writing is reactive to whatever's going on in the world, or it might be just an observation. Having been freelance for many years, I think you have to get really tuned into what's going on around you, because you want to be getting stories before other freelancers.
Right.
So I think, in terms of inspiration, just like really being aware of what's going on, and especially in New York, we're lucky that you can see a lot of things bubbling, brewing before they maybe become a trend. My main work is fashion, so there's always something to write about.
Right. Do you have like a dream designer, dream fashion icon, someone who's like, when I interview this person and I write about the conversation that we have, I've reached my...
Honestly, I think like Sarah Jessica Parker would be a big one.
Really?
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like in New York you could make that happen.
I know. I'm always trying.
Shoot
and
the
she's
DM.
definitely worked a lot with the magazine that I have worked for, but it's just one of those things that I have her on such a high pedestal now. But it's funny, she's totally different to obviously the character.
Sure.
I have met Patricia Field, which was great,
Yeah.
who styled the show, so that was a real kind of New York bucket list moment. But really, I am lucky. I am interviewing designers a couple of times a week,
Sure.
usually, which is great. Obviously, at the moment, everything is Zoom, so that is what it is.
A little less personal.
But yeah, I think in a sense, it's good that I got the job that I'm currently in right now, because it's harder to build those relationships in one way, but then you'll be remembered, and when things are in real life again, they'll be like, oh, remember that person who I had a good time with on Zoom.
Yeah.
If you can have a good time with someone on Zoom, I think that really stands to you.
100%.
So I'm excited for Fashion Week to hopefully come back. I'm very certain that it will be a big event.
Oh, it'll be huge.
Yeah.
I think like this next year as, sporting events, movie
Everything.
outcome, like everything that was
Yeah.
missed in the last year is going to be 10 times bigger and better.
Definitely think so. And friends of mine, we were talking about this on Sunday, that a lot of people who went to Miami and kind of hightailed it out,
So everyone's in Miami this
they're
week.
finishing their leases and they're coming back. I think there's something in the air. Even last weekend, when it was a gorgeous sunny weekend and everyone was sitting out still on patios, you kind of got the sense of, oh, there's like, we're getting back.
We're almost
Things are
there.
happening, yeah. And it's tough because I see my friends and family in Ireland, and they're very much not there. They're still in a really strict lockdown.
Really?
It's been a longer year for them than it has been
Yeah.
for us. We're very lucky we can do a lot.
Yeah.
But
Well, it was
it's-
very scary here at first.
Very scary. Very, very scary.
So you left Ireland
Mm-hmm.
single.
Yes.
What has it been like dating in America as this amazing fashion icon, Irish?
I would not say that. Well, first of all, I want to tell you something, because me and I've always lived with Irish people over the years, which I love. Keeps us like a little kind of community.
Yeah, it's nice.
And we just like laugh about Americanisms together. But in the last apartment, or the last couple of apartments actually, I lived with the same girl, and we came up with this thing. I think I've dated more in the last year and a half than I had in previous years, just because I was in relationships then. And we noticed this pattern of guys on dating apps that we have now nicknamed the Emerald Isle Files.
Ooh.
Because they have this weird thing about you being Irish.
Really?
And they want to tell you about their grandmother who came from like Cork County, and they want to meet you and they want to say slaint.
Oh.
And the things that we come home, we're like, he did this. And they're kind of universal cliches that you would just roll your eyes at as an Irish person. Like, anyone will tell you these same things, like, oh, my grandmother's so-and-so, like, came on the boat, or, I mean, I'm Irish, and all these different things. And do you guys eat bacon and cabbage, blah, blah, blah. But we were like, what is with this, like, weird thing that some of these guys have for an Irish girl? And we kind of realized maybe it's just like the notion of someone being foreign.
It is, 100%.
But speaking English and probably being a lot funnier than them.
Well, I mean, I don't know that. But every time I meet someone from the UK, from Ireland, Australia, America, speaking English with some accent is the sexiest thing possible. I mean, it's like we're weirdly the same, and then you say stuff like bin when you mean trash can.
Yes.
And it's like completely different.
Yeah, it does. It keeps it interesting, definitely. But dating here, I can't really compare it to dating at home, because when I left Ireland, we weren't, like, there was no dating as such.
It was like pre-apps.
You
were young.
I was young. I was 23. It was, it was kind of like you might have kissed someone drunk in a nightclub and then maybe married them like after 10 years.
Oh, jeez.
Or you'd been with someone since school. There's, I think now maybe more so, there's a dating culture in Ireland, but when I was like growing up and before I left, there was not just that kind of
I'm trying to think,
that kind of scene.
I mean, I know it was the UK, but the Skins, right, on MTV, was that it?
Oh, E4, but I don't know where they showed it from.
MTV here.
Yes,
Made it seem like there was a lot of dating going on over there.
But I don't even know if you'd call it dating.
Yeah,
it's
it was
just kind of like
sex and,
getting
like, drugs.
messed up and kissing people and like regretting it the next day and that to me is very like naughty's dating scene in Ireland and the UK.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know. I can't really compare and contrast it, but it is definitely a minefield to navigate. From what I've heard, I'm always told, well, don't think it's easier at home. So I don't know. I've had like resoundingly positive experiences. Anything that wasn't...
That's not the norm, so that's good.
Anything that wasn't like technically positive or was maybe a bit confusing or weird, at least it was a good story.
Sure.
I also wouldn't say like I have dated a huge amount compared to other people I know. I do think it's probably a global phenomenon that it's super weird to have a really nice time with someone and then never speak to them again.
Yeah.
But it has happened several times.
Sure.
So I mean, I just try and be very open and upfront because that's just who I am as a person.
Ditto.
And it's definitely not always reciprocated, but I found the more open and kind of just forthcoming I am, the other person tends to take your lead, and if they don't, then what's the point? Because you will be confused forever.
Right. It's also like an age thing, right? Because as much as I try to be open and upfront and honest in my early 20s, I was also like, a young, horny 20-something-year-old.
Sure. Yes.
So yes, I agree, but there's also instances of...
Yeah, and I think most of the dating that I have done in this country has been during the pandemic.
Really?
Well, to a certain extent, obviously
Zoom
not
dates.
I did one FaceTime date, and it was the most awkward. And I interview people for a living, and I'm used to, speaking to people on the phone, having all of my friends and family in Ireland, like on FaceTime. So I think
it's horrible. I've done it as well.
Maybe I thought I'd be too too able for it, that I was like, this is awful.
Yeah, it's super awkward.
And it was, I think, maybe like the first week of it was actually so early on in the pandemic that I said it to a friend, and her boyfriend was an editor, and he was like, what? she needs to write that story, like, because it was
Did
so
you?
unusual. I didn't, and I actually, that's where I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll do the date, because if I can get a story out of it, and he worked for like a really, really big publication, but I didn't end up doing the story, but it was that early on that it was considered a very weird thing to do.
Yeah, I did it a couple times.
Yeah.
I'm obviously a very outgoing, personable, easy to talk to kind of person. I did not enjoy it at all.
No, it's too like an
super
interview.
awkward.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, number one, the problem with the apps is like you're matching based on physical aesthetics.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if you've got a funny line or not. If you're not attractive, like, we're not going to match. And that's doubly so for me. I'm not saying like I'm this hot guy, right? But like, so you're matching based on looks. I would say most times if you're on an app versus like eHarmony or Match.com, whatever.
Yeah.
And then like you spend some time texting, getting to know this person. It's super superficial. Favorite color, favorite movie, favorite TV show, whatever it is. It's like, these are things that are like foundational, but not like getting anything beyond the surface level. And then you're like, okay, let's FaceTime. We've never met. We've never spoken on the phone, but like here I am with my phone 3 inches away from my face. It's like so awkward.
I think as well, if you don't have a rapport with them, if you haven't met before, if you've met them before, I think it can be fine. But as you said, if it's just going on very kind of rote questions and facts about each other, whereas I think some people, you can hit it off and have like kind of wacky conversations about like really niche things, and maybe those kind of connections will translate pretty well to FaceTime. But I think you would want to be going through a lot of FaceTime dates to get the one that
I would say that's why
turns
one
into
of us,
something.
you is in a relationship. One of us, I am not. Obviously, you've been able to navigate those waters a little bit better than.
I don't even know. I think early on this year or late last year was like, oh, you know what, I'm actually exhausted by this and I don't want to meet anyone. And then
of course you meet someone the next day,
yeah,
right?
as soon as I literally took it off my profile, I matched with someone, and I don't know where it's gonna go, but
Knock on wood. I'm knocking on my head. So obviously it's been a rough year, and I think it's been a crazy year for me. We've experienced similar like ups and downs when it comes to work. Today, I don't know what's March 15th, 16th. Oh, day from St. Patrick's Day. Happy birthday, or whatever that counts as.
Yeah, banish the snakes.
Are you happy?
Yeah, absolutely. I am. I'm so grateful for the life that I have here. It was definitely not easy many times. When you put everything into the equation, like visas and losing jobs, gaining jobs, so many different things. In the last year alone, I moved apartments 5 times.
What?
So
what?
Yeah, there's definitely it has not been smooth by any means, but it's been so much fun. And
what is fun about 5 moves?
I didn't mean that bit was fun, but
okay.
I mean, I think the move that I just did to live alone finally after all these years and all the aforementioned Irish roommates, this is the move that I wanted to do. But of course, the pandemic had so many other plans for people, and I didn't work for a lot of last year, but I also worked every single day. I don't know how that happened, but I wasn't employed, but I was working. Like, I was trying. I was throwing everything at the wall, hoping something would stick. Freelancing a lot. So, I was in the city paying expensive rent, like we all were before the pandemic. We didn't really question it. It would hurt when it went into your account, but there was no other option. So then, lo and behold, not working. I needed to pay for a new visa, an Irish girl, and that is an amazing thing about being Irish in New York. There's a huge, like, hundreds of Irish people here, and you will never be lonely because there's just always someone around.
That's awesome.
It is
community.
amazing. Yeah, I couldn't speak more highly of it. And someone who I kind of just had been friends with on Instagram, she was like, there's a room in my apartment. It was about a third of what I was paying.
Wow.
And I was like, I'll be there on Monday. And then we were in another 3 apartments together, because that lease ended pretty soon. And then we moved within the building. And then I finally got the opportunity to take over this apartment. And
the rest is history. This
yeah,
place is beautiful.
Thank you. This
Decked
apartment.
out in what your vibe is, for sure.
Well, funnily enough, this apartment, when I first moved to New York, I waitressed, as I was saying, we needed money. And I was one of 3 female waitresses in a very old school classic New York steakhouse.
Yes,
And yes, great food. And one of the other female waitresses was one of the girls I had moved with, but the other woman was kind of like a mother. She became a mother figure. I would always call her my New York mom, and she really looked out for me and the other girl. And even back then, she got us our first apartment in the city because we didn't have credit, we didn't have references. You know, we could only stay in the Bronx for so long. And that woman, this was her apartment for the last 20 years, and she gave it to me. Wow. She like passed on the baton. Yeah, so
that's amazing. And now eventually, will you pass it on to another young Irish girl? I will pass it
on to another young Irish girl.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it is, you know, I think that's a big lesson. Cool. Yeah, that I've always, I mean, I don't do it for any reason other than just because I'm a nice person, but I think you will get back what you put out. And, you know, especially in New York when it's a tough city, you need those good relationships. And like I said, whether it's calling up an Irish person, being like, God, I just need someone to talk to, like, for a while, or someone like that who, you know, how many people have you worked with for a while and you never really see them again? But I think nurturing those relationships, especially in a city that can be very overwhelming and, you know, really chew you up and spit you back out, that's very, very, very important and should never be underestimated.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's, like, the one thing that I've noticed that's, like, kind of shitty about getting older is, like, even those really, really great relationships that you have with, like, really good friends for years and years and years, you know, someone starts having kids, they get married, people get divorced. It's like, you know, you stretch and pull and stretch and pull. And what's nice is to see, like, kind of how those relationships, like, morph over time.
Yeah, and it's work, you know, like, anyone who's ever said to me, like, oh, you have a lot of friends. I'm like, yeah, but, you know, you got to maintain that. It is... You don't just have friends. Like, it's a two-way street, you know, and I think that is a part of getting older, that sometimes those relationships mightn't serve you anymore, or, like, as we were just saying, you know, where'd you meet that person? You're like, I don't know, I met them on Twitter maybe. But you meet people in ways that you don't quite expect, and it's not just, oh, we know each other forever. And I still would do anything for all the girls that I went to school with. We're in a WhatsApp group, like 20 of us, you know, and some of us have known each other since we're tots. But
I love that.
You know, you can't rely on only having those people in your life, and as you get older you need to make an effort. And people are always, they'd ask, you know, what's your advice with moving to New York? And I would always say, if you're not willing to put yourself out of your comfort zone, you're gonna find it tough, because you need people in the city, and you need to be willing to be uncomfortable and put yourself out there. And, you know, because that is what will keep you here, is the people around you.
So you're a 7-year New Yorker now.
Almost
7, 6.
You're at it. Well, do you know what? I think there is that whole kind of, you know, you're in New York if you've been here 7 years. If you stayed here during the pandemic, you're a New Yorker. Like, give me my chip. Give me my key to the city, whatever it is.
I was gonna say, are you here for life? Like, can you see yourself leaving? Like, you know, you said you spent some time in LA. Like, are you a New York person?
I can't see myself leaving, to be honest. I can't, because as long as, like, the work is here for me, I don't know. There's a few variables to that, obviously.
Sure. And marriage, kids.
Yeah, yes. And I do, you know, one of the questions you said you might ask is, like, what's your biggest fear? I think my biggest...
That was my next question.
Yeah, my biggest fear is kind of being made to leave, or, like, having to leave.
Interesting.
And, you know, as an
Without
immigrant...
it being your choice.
Yeah, your immigration status is always, like, pretty precarious. I've worked very hard to be on the visa that I'm on now, but you don't know what's going to happen. And
is that a yearly thing? Is that a...
The one I have is 3 years.
Okay.
3-year stints. Yeah, it's called the O1 visa.
Okay.
It's kind of like the Wild West of visas. It's like creative is the umbrella.
Sure.
So that can really run the gamut of everything. So I think that, to me, like, right now is my fear, and I have really tried so hard, even when things felt so bleak, to stay, that I'm like, well, I can't go now, because, like, I've worked so hard to have a life that I love, and by no means is it, you know, extravagant or anything. Like, I'm definitely very lucky in the job that I have. I have amazing friends, and I have fun every day, which to me is, like, super important. I
That
have
is
to
so
like
important.
have to laugh every day. I mean, I have my son here that's barking. He's American, so
He is American.
yeah. I'm trying. Maybe he might be a dual citizen one day. Maybe he'll sponsor me when he's 18.
Yeah, right. Is that,
Yeah, he's from Florida.
he like
but-
marries you
Yeah.
to like you.
No, well, I'd be his dependent. I'm his immigrant mother.
What happens if he's like a service dog? Like maybe it's like service by association. You get to stay.
So, yeah, I think I can't see a real reason that would take me from here by now, but I'm also not someone who plans beyond the week or the
Same.
month.
That's kind of how
Because
we
I
got here.
can't, because if I do, and this happens all the time, if I plan things too far out, they start to not work out, and I kind of feel more comfortable in the very immediate now.
I like that.
Yeah.
I live my life a similar way. I'm always trying new things. I'm always looking towards like what's like something that's gonna incentivize me from like a passion perspective. And I think if this year has taught anybody anything, it's go for what you want in life.
Oh, yeah.
And there's like really nothing that you could regret more than wasting time. I mean,
Yeah, definitely.
it's like the most important currency.
For
Like,
sure, and I think a lot of people in New York, most people that you meet, they're oh. I think a lot of people in New York, most people that you meet, they're something, like there's something and.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think most people that you meet in New York, there'll always be something.
Something, yeah.
There'll be something. Like they're always trying a few things. They want to be doing multiple things. There's many strings to everyone's bow, and
I like that. Many strings, everybody's bow.
I
that.
think
That
that.
reminds me of Tangled. Did you get that from Tangled?
the Disney movie?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I've got two little nieces, so it just...
No, I don't know if it's an Irish thing or what it is. Yeah, many strings to your bow. But I think that is a reason why people come here, is that they want to do lots of things.
I live my life that way. I mean, I'm sure people who are listening to this are going to be like, John, I thought you were a writer. John, I thought you were a photographer. John, I thought you sold construction equipment. Like, what are you doing with podcasts? I think that's like one of the greatest things about like this era that we live in. We can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
like all it takes is an hour, a couple bottles of wine, and
Yeah. For sure.
and a list of questions.
That's it. And I think, all the things probably relate to each other more than someone might think. If you started out doing writing, this is kind of a natural progression. It's all communication. It's all talking and, getting things out into the world. It's creative in a sense.
I appreciate that.
Like,
Well, as my first guest, you're like immortalized in the Wrong Advice Podcast Hall of Fame, and you'll be invited
I know.
back.
When is the bit that I give the wrong advice?
Well, it's me giving the wrong advice.
Oh, okay,
it's
cool.
like a pun, because I used to be like a writer giving like these grandiose, opinions on dating, which I have obviously not mastered at all, being that I'm 35 and single, which there's obviously nothing wrong with. But it's a pun. I think
You should run an ad in the middle of the podcast.
I think
for
I
you,
should.
like a personal ad.
Yeah, like looking for a 6'1".
Yeah. Like instead of when it comes up, like, you're listening to whatever,
Yeah.
it can be just you subliminally putting out a little
Please find
dating
my
ad.
DMs
Yes,
at the end of this.
I'm at John Pacuto. Yeah, I think it would work.
I
And
think you're
then
right.
it fulfills even more of a purpose.
I know. I mean, listen, if I landed a girlfriend from a podcast, like it would be all.
You're
this
doing something well.
Single
Yeah.
episode would be worth it.
Yeah. I definitely would. You'd need to get me back the bottle of wine for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I was planning on thanking you anyway, but
Yeah, I need to be invited to the wedding. I'll
Yeah.
officiate it.
Oh, whoa, is that? Could you do that?
I feel like maybe I could. Yeah, my
Just gotta get
best.
ordained.
Yeah, my best friend Sam is in hot demand
Really?
for he's just, everyone adores him so much, and he's pretty booked
I think
for
my brother-
2022.
My little brother, I think he has officiated 2 weddings now.
Yeah, that's great.
Pretty sure.
You'd love to know that you mean that much to people.
I agree. I've been a best man twice and delivered 2 A++. I
thought you were gonna say babies.
Oh my God, can you imagine? Actually, just one on the corner on the way here.
Yeah, I had the gloves, so I said I'll give it a go.
Yeah. I gave 2 great best man speeches. And I think the next logical progression is for me to officiate a wedding. Yeah.
Absolutely, get ordained just in case.
I think, my sister's getting married in January, and they're doing like a split. He's Jewish, she's we're Catholic.
Okay, yeah.
So they're going to have a rabbi and a priest. I think I should just get ordained. And
Yeah. This can be your official way of asking
I
her
think
when
that-
she listens to the
Jess,
podcast.
if you're listening to this.
Can I marry you?
Can I marry you guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
So obviously you've had a lot of time on your hands this year.
No.
Okay, you've been super busy.
I have not.
Most of us have had a lot of time on our hands.
Yeah.
What's like the best show you've watched in like the last year?
Oh, goodness. Oh my God, what is the best show I've watched? Do you know what I actually found? That I could live without TV.
Really?
Which is ironic because
Well,
I
we
would.
bonded over normal people.
And I would love to one day write a TV show, so I really need to watch more TV to study that. But I could live without TV. Normal people actually know that you say I did really enjoy that, and obviously The Taste of Home. But I got more into podcasts, I think, over the pandemic because I think we all needed a reason to get out of the house. And I'm trying to think in almost all the 5 apartments that I was in, there was no TV. Which I think...
This has been a mind-boggling experience. Just learning, obviously, not having any idea that you moved 5 times in the last year, let alone that you moved 4 out of those 5 times with no television.
It's so crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, and I know there's literally a huge TV beside me.
Yeah.
There's also a huge TV in the kitchen and a huge TV in the bedroom, but they're the woman who previously lived here. I watched the new show with Eve Hewson, who's Bono's daughter. It's called Behind Her Eyes. It's on Netflix. It's pretty good. Yeah, okay. I would recommend it. I only watched 3 episodes, but I sat down last night, Monday night. I was a little bit delicate from the weekend of drinking, so I sat down and just said, just watch TV, just do nothing, and that was honestly the first time that I have just watched TV in a while. Reader? I am a big reader. Yeah, but it can be hard because my day job is
reading.
Consuming content to the extent
where...
You
ever seen Begin Again? No, I'm sorry. About Time.
About Time with Rachel McAdams?
Yes.
I have, yeah.
It reminds me of that scene when they're on that first date and she's like, I'm an editor. And he's like, they're making fun of her like, oh no, I will only read this if I'm being paid cold, hard cash. Yeah. Or whatever. That's what I
wish I could differentiate that way. But yeah, there's honestly some evenings where I feel so depleted that I'm like, I can't even write a text.
Yeah.
And that's probably why Irish people love voice notes so much. Like, we will send each other...
I'm just starting to get into those.
It's the best, yeah. I would send... It's not unusual to send 30 minutes, like, to a friend.
30 minutes?
Yeah.
One-sided?
Mm-hmm. I've done
it's
50.
like one-way podcast.
Yeah, it's like an audiobook.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not getting picked up by any publishers. I've sent up to 50 minutes.
At what point...
But I love talking, if you're not getting that.
I would say, at what point does it just pay to have a phone call?
Well, this is the thing with when you're an expat and everyone else is, different different time schedules. Like, one best friend in particular, she is like trying to get through to some CEO of a huge company. I've never met anyone who just has her time is marked down to the 30 minutes that she's free. So we'd have to plan a week out. So if there's ever, for us, and I honestly think that has maintained our friendship over the last almost 6 years of me being away, is consistent voice notes. And we always kind of say it's like free therapy because no one's interrupting you. There's often times where I'll just record and I'll stop it after 10 minutes. I'm like, do you know what? That's just me ranting about something stupid that happened. And she doesn't need to listen to that.
Yeah. And
I'm going to delete that. But I've said it and it's off my chest and now I'm
over.
fine. Yeah. So it's like free therapy.
I love that.
Yes,
I've just recently gotten into it. I did it, I think, to you yesterday. I was like, do you mind if I send you a voice note? You're like, yeah, definitely, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a great way to communicate. The one thing I'll say is, like, the iMessage function leaves a lot to be desired but us Irish people, WhatsApp through and through.
What gives you confidence? And I say that because you have, obviously, a very eclectic, awesome fashion style, but it is totally of your own. Like, I don't know anybody else who dresses as cool as you.
Thank you.
So what gives you confidence to, like, be like, yeah, like you said, I'm going to wear 2 different patterns and I don't care if they clash and, like, whatever?
God, I don't know. I think a lot of it is to do with having moved away and just the anonymity of being in a city where there's 8 million people and nobody knows who you are. I think that is very freeing. And in Ireland, we obviously all grew up in pretty small towns by any kind of extent of the imagination. But like it's not all normal people, but it's very true to life. And, you know, you're constantly kind of worrying about what people think of you. And so for me, I think moving here at a pretty young age definitely was freeing in that regard. And I don't know, I think you'll never be kind of the best at anything in a room. You know, you can walk into a room and you can feel, oh, there's people here smarter than me, or there's people here that are XYZ. But for me, it's kind of like as long as I'm sure about what I'm wearing and I feel good in it, then that kind of gives me confidence.
I like that.
In a sense, yeah. Like there'll always be someone prettier, smarter. I don't think there's people harder working than me.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
No, I'm only joking. But that's kind of my two things. I'm like, I'm going to work goddamn hard, and I will probably have a nicer dress than everyone in the room.
You definitely will. That's for sure.
Yeah, so they're my two things.
I love this question just because I can't pinpoint my own confidence because, like, all right, I'm going to say I'm a 7 out of 10. I think maybe some people would agree, some people would disagree. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, my confidence is a 25 out of 10. And I always would love to articulate why that is, or like why I'm comfortable with who I am. And if I could, I'd probably be like super rich because I just write this book, like how to get your confidence.
Absolutely,
25
yeah.
out of 10.
I'll buy it. I'll pre-order it.
And I just find it really interesting why some people like can seemingly like own their shit. Like you can own whatever you're wearing, walk into a room, kill it. And I'm similarly the same way. I can do, you know, pretty much anything, like start a podcast and not give a shit what people think, whether it's good, whether it's bad. So I always like getting a good idea of what like drives someone, what's like something that instills confidence in themselves, because I think it's very telling about the person themselves.
Yeah, I think it like you just said there as well, it's not giving a shit. Ironically, I think that kind of makes you more kind of alluring to people when you don't care what they think.
I mean, I very much care. I mean, I think it's like as you get older, you care less.
I don't mean I'm reckless.
Sure, yeah.
But what I mean is, I think if you are just like, you know, go with the flow, you know, I think, yeah, fundamentally, if you know who you are as a person, people then gravitate towards that.
I agree.
Or they don't, and that's also fine.
Sure.
But I think it's kind of it's in tandem with letting go of a lot of things and caring less. I think my mom has said that to me a few times. She's like, every year you just care a little bit less.
Or you drink a little bit more bourbon.
And it's not that you don't care. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you are more fulfilled.
You're like, take it or leave it.
Yes.
You know? And I think for me, confidence is also just, I think I keep speaking about the people that I have in my life, but I know that my relationships are very important to me, and all the people that are in my life are there for a reason. They're very solid. So I know that I'm a good enough person for those people to want to be around, that kind of gives me confidence to then meet other people or put myself in a situation where I don't know this person, but like they've asked me to their birthday, I'm gonna go, or you know, go to a work event and not know anyone, because I know that, well, all these people like me. And I mean something to these people, so that kind of gives me a bit of a boost if I ever need to do things alone, or you know, I think I'm also just quite independent in general, but I mean, that helps with your confidence.
I think moving, you know, 3,000, 2,000 miles.
Yeah, I think it's 5,000.
5,000?
I think so. Don't quote me on that. Maybe 3.
Maybe 3.
I know LA was like about 8,000. So
sure, that's right.
But yeah, far, definitely.
If 20-year-old Freya was listening to this conversation, what would you tell her?
Oh, God. Definitely stop spending so much money on like feather skirts and sequin outfits, because you will not own them in years to come. Save some of your money. Wear hand cream. Okay. I always think this. I'm like, why did no one ever tell me to wear hand cream? Because
very young looking hands.
I don't. They're like an old woman. No, I'm only joking. But I think kind of what I was just saying, like let go of worrying about what people think of you. I think we can all spend our formative years worrying too much and trying to fit in. So I think just, you know, have a good idea of who you are, where you want to go, trust the process ultimately, because whatever, like where you end up is where it's supposed to have been, and just enjoy. everything, especially the crazy bad bits, because they're ultimately like what will fuel you, and
the most formative things in your life are usually the worst.
The hardest things, you know, and I've had a lot of really hard things happen to me, and I'm grateful for those because it's made me very resilient.
I love that.
And very determined, and you know, I think that's kind of the maker of who you are as a person in a lot of ways. So I think, yeah, just trust that you're going somewhere for a reason, and be nice to people.
Being nice is the most underrated aspect of
goddamn
life.
Nice. Be like funny, have fun. You know, don't stay in your apartment every night of the week for whatever reason. Like, go out and have fun.
Unless there's a pandemic.
Unless there's a pandemic, then wash your hands and stay in your apartment. But, you know...
You're 29.
Mm-hmm.
When do you turn 30?
I only turned 29 last week.
So, my God, how did I not bring you... Oh, my God.
Yeah, March 6th. I'm a Pisces.
Is that like...
Now it's like a personal ad for me.
Sorry to Freya's boyfriend if you're listening to this. Ladies and gentlemen, this podcast is brought to you
by Freya Drohan. Yeah.
So you got a year to 30. Where do you see yourself
God, because
in 5 years?
Well, also my last birthday was the last weekend before the pandemic. So I ultimately said, okay, fine, I'll admit that I'm 29, but I really should have been 28 again.
Point like 5?
Yeah, 28.2.0, whatever. Where do I see myself in 5 years' time? I don't know, and I always really struggle with that, like planning too far ahead and thinking too far ahead. I don't know that I'll be doing what I'm doing now. Mm-hmm. I have been doing it
bigger and better.
I've just been doing it for a long time. More so in the last year, I've been transitioning into an editor role. I know how to write. Like, I can write in my sleep. I wouldn't say that I'm the best writer by any means, but I know how to write. And so I've been enjoying kind of that and managing people. And I'm lucky enough to have 3 really lovely interns, and I really enjoy that, like being able to kind of, you know, use that other part of my brain where I have to be like, okay, well, why is this good, or why is this bad, or, you know, that it is different for me, because I think when you're a writer, you just churn it out all day, every day, especially for the online.
It's easy for some of us.
Well, I think
I'm pointing at you.
I think when you're a writer, mainly for digital too, you don't even know that there's anyone reading it, and a lot of the jobs I've had, they're self-publishing, you know, so I'm my own editor too, for the most part. You know, I have my boss who's great for guidance and everything, but I kind of just publish my own stuff every day. So I'm... No
checks, no balances, just
go lawless. So I don't know that I'll still be doing that in 5 years. I'm very much... I like to be challenged and doing new things.
Do you want to
be a
feature artist for the New York Times? Like,
I do. I have so many things that I'd love to do. I of course would love to be, you know, a writer at one of the amazing publications, because that would push me in a way that I haven't been before. Mm-hmm. So whether that's like one of the big fashion magazines, like being a features director there, or
Vogue, are you listening?
Yes, now it's a personal ad for Vogue. Or
one of us is getting something out of this podcast.
Come on, I'm gonna like promote. What was I saying? Or, you know, somewhere like the New Yorker or New York Magazine or something like that would obviously be a huge goal to tick. But I still don't know if it would kind of be enough. And so, say 5 years, I'd be 34. I don't know if I'd want to just be writing.
More responsibility.
Yeah, I have like a couple of things that I'd love to. I would love to work on something long form. But I just get very overwhelmed when I think about it. And
preaching to the choir.
Don't start.
I'm extremely familiar with those feelings.
Yeah, and I think as well, when my day job is writing, and I know I was just saying, like, sometimes in the evening I can't even write a text or like watch anything on a screen. I just can't take that content anymore, that I find it very hard to kind of work on a quote-unquote passion project that is also to do with writing.
Yeah, staring at a screen.
You know, because I will just, if I'm still at my laptop, I'll just end up working for my job, or, you know.
So you need to get a typewriter.
Yeah.
Like old school.
Oh my God, maybe I could dictate an entire book in a WhatsApp voice note.
I don't know. That's a slippery slope. You'll be killing your battery.
Yes.
It's like that scene out of... what's the Christmas movie? It's based in the UK. He's writing the pages. It goes in the water.
The Holiday? Love Actually. Yes, and the housekeeper.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I used to write. I don't consider myself a writer anymore because I haven't written in forever.
But you're using your creative skills in other ways.
Those creative muscles in other ways. Photography mainly. This podcast, additionally, but. Early on in my writing career, when I started gaining some traction, I was like, I want to write a book. And I was like, I'm going to write a novel. I'm going to write the rom-com of my life, which, obviously I haven't had the happy ending yet. But because I was like, every time I logged onto my laptop to like start writing, I would just get distracted. I'd be on Twitter, I'd be on Facebook, I'd be whatever.
Yeah.
So I bought a typewriter.
That's a great idea.
It was very great. I don't think I've touched it in about 7 years. So I was like, it's a great idea for you. Yeah. I've got one if you'd like one. Yeah. But
I think I'm maybe in a better place to start it now. I think, as I said earlier, I find it hard to mind my personal life a little bit. And ultimately that's what I would probably be writing about is some kind of,
personal narrative.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that I know, the story that I know is Irish people in New York, and it's entertaining. So, and I do think there'd be an interest for that kind of thing, especially after normal people. What did Connell do when he got to New York? Jeez. I know.
But like, are
I
they
know
gonna
him.
film the season? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just genuinely want to know.
They're doing like 2 bonus episodes, I think.
Only 2?
I think it's only 2. Yeah.
You made me buy the book. Because I love the show so much. And I haven't read it yet.
You got to read the book.
I'm currently reading this ridiculous 700-page book on the first tycoon, Mr. Cornelius Vanderbilt. Don't ask me why.
Oh, okay. Yes, different content to normal people.
Extraordinarily dry.
Yeah.
And I just love that show so much. I mean,
the book is great.
Marianne's, whoever the actress is, and Connell.
And she's British. You know that?
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
wow.
she's British.
She really put that Irish hat on.
Yeah, she's very good in it.
They portrayed, like, love and passion.
Yeah, the angst.
And yeah. Jeez, it was just so well done.
It is really well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and you'll always be compared to whatever Irish person came before you. But at the same time, it's kind of good because there's been a crop of young Irish female writers, so that might be something that maybe helps.
Yeah.
But I need to just do it. It's not going to help.
So would you say that's like your number one biggest dream, like to write a movie, a show, a book, something?
I don't know. I oscillate between that and other ideas. I have an idea for a fashion company that I'd love to start, but that absolutely terrifies me because I don't know the first thing. I can't even do addition in my head, let alone like any kind of business.
You can be creative and hire accountants.
Yeah. So maybe starting something like that. Or, ultimately I'd be lying to myself if I said I didn't want a very traditional like magazine role at one of the big publications. But would it be as fulfilling? I don't know. So I'm not really sure, and that's why I'm the first person to give you all these ideas. I feel like every day, or at least every week, I come up with a bunch of things that I'm like, oh, this would take off, but I never do any of them. So,
I know that feeling. I do, and I oscillate back and forth between wanting to chase down every single one of my dreams and wanting to be like somewhat pragmatic about what I'm doing with my life.
And at the end of the day, you need to pay your bills.
Sure.
And they're expensive bills in New York.
Oh,
so
for sure.
It is often hard to find just the time, to do anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I mean, for me, I think like how relationships are kind of moving forward in like this weird, post-COVID world. The fact that we are meeting for this is the first time.
Yeah.
Recording my first in-person podcast. I think that's weirdly, amazingly
like
symbiotic.
7-8 years after like we first started talking when I was in my kitchen in Dublin, like being like, hey, I read your piece, I liked it.
And I was
How
like,
did you get a job in New York? Help me.
Yeah, it was so funny. You were hitting me up for advice, and now we're on the Wrong Advice podcast. And what a hilarious!
I love it.
what a tremendous full frame.
Yeah, and that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Is never underestimate those connections and maintain them and nurture them, because
I think that's the best part about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And otherwise, what would either of us be doing on a Tuesday night? But It is.
I would be doing this, but with myself, talking about The Bachelor or
I'd be
something.
sitting here being like, you should write something.
Yeah, right.
But, you know, it does make the world a lot smaller, and New York can feel like a very big bad world sometimes because it's such a dog-eat-dog world. So I think...
I find that as like an interesting like concept because like, so growing up in New Jersey, I've always been in and out of the city. It's never had that like overtly larger than life persona for me, I guess, because you've lived here for 7 years.
Yeah.
I've just been in and out my entire life. Do you think it still has that kind of like gravitas for you a year after COVID?
I wouldn't be like intimidated by it. I think I'm definitely still lost all the time. I don't know when that ends,
So
but
you just had a terrible compass.
yeah. Oh well, yes. Anyone would tell you that about me. I barely know my lefts and rights. But I wouldn't be as overwhelmed. And I think, you know, once you get to the stage where you're telling people, oh, it's just very tough, and all of these stupid cliches that you were told before you got here, you kind of it's hard to articulate why is it tough and why is it all those things that people warn you about.
Mostly
and
expensive rent.
expensive rent will definitely do it for you. You're always kind of tired. And at the end of the day, a lot of people left. But for me, it kind of just consolidated why I was here, the pandemic. I love living here. I love everything about New York. Not everything about New York, but I love a lot of things about it, enough to keep me here. And I think it's just that it's totally unique. It's not like any other place in the world. Especially with the dog, like I just talk to people all day, every day, and everyone is so different. Every single person who comes up to me on the street, like there's no commonality between anyone.
Really?
And I, first and foremost, like, you know, my background is journalism. I love people. So that to me is...
I have a very interestingly love-hate relationship with people. And it just depends on the day, how much coffee I've had.
I'm like that nightmare person beside you on a plane that wants to talk for like 5 hours.
I've had some really good conversations in life like
that. So I think it doesn't have the same kind of, you know...
Factor.
Yeah, and I don't really know that it ever did. I've even in times when I've had like something really awful happen, I will still like take solace in going down to, I mean, you know that I'm going to be living in a different part of the city every time it happens because I've moved so much, but I'll either be down at the water in Williamsburg or in the East Village or something, and I will just look at the city and be like, that to me, I'm just like, remember we're here, remember why you're here, remember what you want to work as, remember the life you want to have.
It does have, like, at times, that soothing factor that, like, no matter how chaotic it is, it can still put you at weirdly ease.
Yeah, definitely.
There was a moment, I was in the city, like, a month ago. I was just walking around taking pictures, you know, doing street photography. And I took a 2-minute break, sat down, changed my roll of film because I'm a weirdo and I shoot film in 2021. And I just sat there and I just took it all in and I was like, it's weirdly calming to be here in this crazy time of history that we're in, and it's like hard to kind of put your finger or like articulate what it is about it, but even just sitting here in this apartment tonight, like I feel weirdly calm. I don't know if it's the incense or the candles or
I don't know what it is, and because this is not a calm block, but surprisingly they're playing ball tonight. Like there's a man who dresses like a pirate, and he, because you know we're all working from home, so you're sitting in your living room all day, and he just stands there and he has this insanely loud audiobook, kind of something that's been narrated about the end of the world. Like it sounds like I'm making this up, but he'll be in a different place. So like yesterday he was across the street there. I think today he must have been underneath the apartment because I couldn't see him. But I know it's him, and he also has a bike, so he'll do like loops, and you're still kind of like, no, just is what it is. You know, like uniquely New York. And I think that's another thing, is it never, no kind of 2 days are ever the same.
Yeah, I love that
in
about
a way.
life in general.
These days more so.
Yeah, well,
because you're so limited with your interactions, and you know, but I can feel it like in the waters that it's just going to be such an amazing summer.
Yeah, I mean, when it was like 72 3 days ago, I know it's 30 now, but it felt like the world was almost normal again.
It really did. Yeah, it really, really did. So I think it's like on the uptick, and it's going to be...
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, for sure.
Here's my question.
Okay.
You seem extremely settled in your life, in love with the city that you're in. Do you have any regrets? Like, what do you, like, look back on, you're like, fuck, why did I do Joe?
I do have regrets, and I know...
How often do you think about them?
I try not to dwell on them, but I know you should say that you don't have regrets, and and I do primarily believe that everything happens for a reason, and
me as well.
But I do have regrets, and the regrets that I have are kind of to do with relationships that I was in.
Regrets to have.
Yeah, and that, they're regrets that they might have led me down a path I didn't really want to go on twice, different people. But I kind of touched on this, that it still made me a very resilient person, and but I would change them.
Would you?
I would, yeah.
What would you change about it? Like, I find that so interesting because, like, I'm a person, like, I really try to live my life fully without regrets, and it gets easier as you get older, I think. I do have regrets, and I do like to say all the time, like, I live my life completely and utterly without remorse for what I've done in my past. And that's just not fact, right? Like, you'll still wake up or be drunk one night and be like, fuck, I miss her. Or, shit, why did I not do X, Y, Z? Why did I not buy Zoom stock in 2019, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's obvious that we all have things that we think about and we regret. But what would you change about it?
I would have got out of both relationships a lot sooner than I did.
That's more the benefit of hindsight, right? Because like in the moment you probably were like, I love this person, and
yeah, I think it goes back to what I was saying. They put me on paths that I didn't want to be on, and then that took a long time to get off, without going too much into either of them.
Sure.
But they're just the two glaringly obvious things that came to mind when I read that question, and I thought it would be fake of me to be like, no, I have no regrets, because that is kind of something that would sound on brand for me, being like, no, I absolutely don't care about anything. But I have gone through two really difficult times with both those relationships for one reason or another that I won't get into now, but like, buy me 5 bottles of wine and I'll tell you all about both of them.
Deal.
But again,
episode 2.
Yeah, that's the audiobooks. That's why my friends get 15-minute audiobooks. But they did shape me as a person. I just, they're two things. They're two things that I regret.
As much as like, I would like to tell myself like, don't date that girl. Like, I would love to go back to John and be like, dude, stop right here. Don't do this. I think it's also informed me greatly of like who the person I am now, right? Like, so it's like shitty lesson to learn.
Yeah.
Really not ideal at the time. It took, years of growth to get beyond it. But at the end of the day, I do fully agree with you. Everything does happen for a reason. Yeah. And, it's easy to say that as you get older. Like when you're in your 20s, and like, this guy just broke my heart, or this girl just fucked me over.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say it wasn't to do with heartbreak either time. It was just not good situations. And one of them, I think I was too young, and, it was what it was. And then the other time I was in a situation that was very controlling, and I lost myself a lot. And that's, regret is one word, but almost like shame is another thing that I kind of feel about that. And I definitely don't think that's healthy to harbor that, and I don't hold it against myself for any reason, but I lost myself a lot in a long-term relationship. And I think that
that's
when
very
when I look back at that, that is something I regret, because I'm so independent. And like, we were just talking about this, and I pride myself on being independent and like
very unique.
Yeah.
In a great way. I don't mean that,
But it just goes to show that I think a lot of girls have found themselves in similar situations, and you can just get...
Guys too.
Yeah, sorry, absolutely. And you can just... I think that's the only word for it, is like lose yourself.
Yeah.
And that is not a good thing to happen. So
I think...
better to regret it and be out of it than, be scared and still be in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think like I would have to concur like completely about what you said, and it's like I'd be curious. I mean, obviously I'm single. I'd be curious to see if I could repeat mistakes that I made at 25, at 35.
They have such different outcomes.
Yeah, yeah. I would think you learn enough over life. Like it's I guess the thing that's difficult about life is that lessons are learned at a young age.
Yeah.
And then being able to apply those lessons later in life, it's like, well, why couldn't I have learned that at 15 instead of 25? And
for sure, and I think ultimately lessons are always learned the hard way.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're not going to be like, oh, okay, lesson learned, that was fine, that was easy.
Yeah, that was great.
Like, if it's
Winning
a lesson...
the lottery is so awesome.
Yeah, if it's a lesson, like, you're going to know about it and it's going to probably hurt. So, yeah, I think that I don't like to go around saying I have regrets, but if someone was to ask me, do I? I'm not going to lie about it.
Good.
And I think we all do.
Absolutely.
You know, if you say you don't...
You're lying.
Or you haven't had it yet.
Yeah.
So
you're
come
in
back.
for a rude awakening.
Yes, come back to me.
I'd like to now live my life fully without regrets because I think, and that's like another one of the reasons why I'm starting this podcast, because why I would look back and be like, why didn't I do that? It's like low impact, low effort, and something that I think I'm going to take great joy out of.
Definitely, and if you don't have regrets, I mean, you probably always took the safe option.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. Yeah, you're dull.
Dull. Very dull.
I don't want to be friends with you.
What are you most proud of?
I think the fact that I'm still here, and my immigration status, which is always difficult. The fact that I have the creative artist visa is something I'm proud of, and that took a lot of resilience and a lot of editors and publications being like, no, this pitch isn't right, until I could eventually build up a portfolio that warranted me getting this very competitive visa. Like, that took a lot of grit. I think the easier option for me was always to go home. Always. Well, easier on paper, not easily or not easier personally, but you know, I would have a really nice life if I went home. Ireland's a great place to live. My friends are there. My family are there. I haven't seen my family in 17 months. I miss them so much. But the easier thing was usually to go to Ireland, cheaper. Mm-hmm. You know, I've spent the equivalent of a house in Ireland on my visas.
Wow, jeez.
I hope that the next immigration move is a green card that's like for my work.
So like 7 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, 5. You keep adding
5
years to my life.
Friendship, I forget it. It surpasses your
6
time.
6 this year, in fairness. Yeah.
I just like, I didn't know. So like green card, it's not like a 5-year thing and then boom, green card. It's like, I thought there was a predetermined amount of time. It's job related.
I think you kind of need an anchor, you know, to literally support you. So whether that's a job or a marriage or I don't know what else it would be, but hopefully the next stint after this will be the visa that I have, but like the elevated version of this visa is a green card version of it, so I would be permanent resident and I would, you know, enjoy all those trappings.
Awesome.
What's
your favorite food? My
favorite food are like dips.
Really?
Yeah.
Like hummus?
Yeah.
This is your favorite food?
Oh, it's up there. Like overall, I would say Mediterranean or like Middle Eastern food.
Interesting.
I like just dipping things in.
I mean, I love
dips.
hummus, but like.
Yeah, for me,
I've legitimately asked that question thousands of times in my life. No one has ever said dips.
I would say, dips is kind of
queso,
lowballing it. No, like not those kind of dips, but you know, if you went to like a Middle Eastern or a Mediterranean kind of spot, you can get all different kinds of vegetables, breads, like things to dip into dips.
Yes.
Like a whole table of things.
Yes.
That's kind of my buzz. But then I also just really like chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any like specific food that reminds you of home and makes you miss home?
Yeah, God, lots. I'd say like really good seafood, really good smoked salmon on like Irish brown bread, just a bit of lemon and some butter. I would say, what else? Kind of like scallops or fish and chips, any of that, like just super fresh, right from the sea, which is beside you. Good potatoes. Obviously.
Potatoes,
yeah.
obviously.
I think I've grown to love potatoes so much more in my late 20s.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I feel like I missed out on them.
You stopped counting carbs somewhere
Yeah,
around
maybe I was too
26,
worried when I was younger to like eat a white potato, and now I just, couldn't get enough. And I mean, all of the kind of brands, like Cadbury's.
My sister loves Cadbury's.
It's different at home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, here, oh my God, I don't know what they put in it.
Really?
Yeah.
She loves them.
Oh, no, it's a different
And
ball game.
truth be told, I literally just learned today that they were Irish. I would never
Cadbury's,
guess
yeah.
that.
I think Irish or British.
Yeah.
Either or. Yeah.
Wouldn't have guessed that.
What else is good? And like just, I think the scenario that you're enjoying things in as well, like just having like a good pint.
Yeah. Warm pint?
No.
Isn't that another thing?
No.
I thought all beer was warm in the UK and Ireland.
Not
Guinness?
that I know of. No. Ugh,
Make
no,
that
no, no.
Got
Who have you
some
been
bones
talking
pick with some of
to?
my
Yeah.
friends.
No, like a good, just, the setting, like being with friends and having like a good drink
Yeah.
in a beer garden with like good crisps.
Yeah. Which are chips?
Yeah.
Fries?
Yes. Yeah. But I would say seafood. The food in Ireland is great. I think it gets a bad rap, but the food is actually.
I've never been. It's on my bucket list.
Yeah.
So.
I think as well, things can just be a lot fresher. Less processed, and we're very lucky that everything is coming from pretty close to you. I always laugh when I see like farm to table in America, because I'm like, where else would it come from?
Yeah.
Like, what's the other option?
That's a branding marketing strategy.
Yeah.
That's not like a.
I'm like, but obviously it came from the farm.
Yeah.
The farm.
No,
is,
this cow came from the Queens. And
yeah, Queen's cows. So I think we're lucky in Ireland growing up in terms of the food is pretty good for you for the most part, like less processed anyway. So I think that can be something that's difficult for American kids growing up, is you might be eating a lot of junk without realizing it.
Yeah, Doritos. Cool Ranch.
Yeah, well, we for sure have Doritos too. And we would know that they're not good for us. But I think, just things are less processed. Even if I'm at home for a week, I feel a little bit lighter just with what I'm eating, because it's less messed with.
Yeah. I hear that. 17 months, you haven't been home, so I would imagine that's super tough with your family.
Yeah.
How do you make do with like this? I mean, granted, technology's great. You got FaceTime, you got WhatsApp and whatnot. How much do you like miss your family? Like ordinarily, would you get to go home like every 6 months, something like that? Like
I, on a good year, would go home 3 to 4 times a year.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so this is very, very different. Unfortunately, I didn't go home for the last Christmas. That was a normal Christmas because I was working. So the last time I was at home was for my mom's 50th, which would have been October 2019.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, of course, I miss them so much. I talk to them all the time, and as I said, we're lucky we have so much technology at our disposal. And my mom would always be like, send pics, I saw it on your story. Like, they do feel very involved, and they're proud of me for being here and kind of being determined to stay. I think anyone who is away anywhere in the world, away from their family, when things started to get haywire, everyone, was having a parent call them like, I think you should come home. And I was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. I was like, this is my home though. Like, that's just, as much as your parents never want you to say that, I'm like, but this is my home. And
what was that like realization for you, like super reassuring about like the decisions you made the last 6 years? Like, as bad as it was here, you were like, I'm home?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I think there was a lot of parts to it. I was trying to get a new visa, so I was worried about that. I thought I was due to start a new job, the one I'm currently in. That obviously got pushed back a lot because of the pandemic. And I just kind of thought, I mean, no one knew how long it was going to go on for either, right? So you thought I could go home, and I just had a feeling I'll get stuck at home. And
Not be able to
I was right. I would still be there.
Yeah.
Technically, the travel ban affects me, even though I've lived here almost 6 years. I'm not a resident, so I would be stuck.
The Trump travel ban.
The international travel ban. Yeah, the reason there's no tourists in Times Square, that ban would affect me.
Which is not so bad, but yeah.
Yeah. Less selfie sticks for sure.
Yeah, right.
But I have a child now. I mean, look,
He's a very cute young man. A little bit hairy for a 6-month-old, but he has been rather well behaved.
Only in the last few minutes.
So.
He's going to make himself
spoke
known.
Too soon.
Yeah.
Do you believe in an afterlife?
Yes, definitely. I believe in something. And
did you watch the movie Soul on Disney
Soul?
Plus?
No.
You should watch it. It's so good.
Okay, I will.
Highly recommend. Like A++.
Yeah, Soul. Okay, I will. I do believe in something. Yeah, I'm definitely not religious for an Irish Catholic.
Yeah, as an Italian Catholic.
Yes.
Although I am adorned with multiple religious tattoos.
Yeah, I mean, give me the piece of paper. But I would think that I'm spiritual. I definitely believe in something and that there's a reason things are happening, and I don't think it just ends. No.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I recently read a really good book. It was, I think, Concerning God or Connecting God.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really interesting. It's fiction, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
It has to do with aliens, and it's a bit science fiction-y, and as you push a bottle line towards me, like I need to finish it.
Just making sure.
And the premise that it talks about with regards to God and religion, I think, is like a little bit more digestible and just kind of. Look, I mean, it's been a crazy world when it comes to religion this week. Like, the Vatican is saying no to gay marriage and like all this like really petty, dumb shit that I don't personally believe in or think matters. Like it's 2021, you should be able to marry who you want. And it shouldn't matter.
Oh yeah.
Topic for another day. But the way that this book kind of tackles the God question, I think, is really good. It's super relatable for people to take a look at. And I'll get you a copy of the book. I don't want to spoil it for you.
Okay.
But I like asking people what they think happens when we die, because at the end of the day, life is tough. And it's been a tough year. And for it all to be for really nothing seems super unlikely and highly
implausible. I mean, how demoralizing and demotivating if there's not some nice paradise or at least something.
There was a very odd movie that Jason Segel was in where they proved the existence of an afterlife, and then everyone was just killing themselves. It was like a really, really dark movie. I don't remember what it was. Don't recommend that.
No.
But I like talking to people about what their concept of afterlife is, because it's super informative of how you live your life on a daily basis.
I think as well that it would be nice to have the idea that you're going to come back to this earth as something else for whatever reason.
Or on to, right?
Yeah, I think that's where your mind goes. You're like, where is this, heaven, quote unquote heaven?
Poem, or it's a short story poem called The Egg.
No, I don't think so.
So The Egg is this short story. I was actually going to read it on the podcast one day. It's very interesting.
You should insert egg here.
Insert egg here. It's very long for a short story. It's basically the premise that we're all one entity, one fraction, living all the same life, a multitude of people, and it's you live each individual's human life to learn the overarching. It's super interesting, but again, it goes back to there's a reason why we're here, I would imagine.
Yeah, you have to think that.
It'd be super depressing. Why would you go to work every day if you're there's nothing after this?
Yeah, I think, as I was kind of getting at, because I find it hard to plan ahead, I do like to kind of seek some kind of solace in believing in things like karma and fate and, those otherworldly kind of higher bullshitty goopy powers. But I think you need something to kind of guide you. I don't think we're all just bouncing around for no reason.
I agree. It's there's so many concepts discussing it, and alien life and the whole nine yards, and I think it would be a sad way to live your life, not expecting there to be other life out there and or anything after the end of the day. Yeah,
and I think if you are traditionally religious, that's great. It's not for everyone, but
to each their own.
To each their own. I'm sure you have many people in your Irish or your Italian Irish Catholic life that are religious, but the thing with me is religion, it just doesn't always fit the person.
My biggest problem with religion is that it's not inclusive.
And
to me, it's like goes fundamentally against what religion should stand for, which is like love and, you know, spirituality and a togetherness.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it goes completely against that.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you a funny story. Like, not that funny, but it's all story of my life. But a couple of years ago, I don't know if you know this, but Ireland's very much two kind of generations right now. You've got your very, very traditional, religious, conservative, older guard and younger guard. There's some younger people in that bracket too, for sure. But then there's also very progressive, forward-thinking, young mentality too. And so we were the first country to change the constitution to allow both gay marriage and abortion.
No kidding.
Because we didn't have abortion. You could only go to the UK.
Like it was illegal?
It was illegal, yeah.
Okay.
Up until, that was 2018. I didn't even live there when they changed that. Yeah, I actually went home. I couldn't vote because I'd been gone for too long, but I went home for the kind of very historic time, yeah. But the gay marriage referendum, and like an overwhelming amount of my friends in New York are gay. Like, it's,
really?
Yeah, almost all of them.
Is that like from a restaurant working perspective or like?
No, not even.
Fashion or?
Not even. Honestly, no. Just.
Happenstance.
Yeah, and like some of the very closest, best people in my life are gay, whether I know them like 20 years or whether I know them a year.
Sure.
So for me, obviously, it wouldn't even be a question that people would not want them to get married to whoever they love. Yeah. But years ago, I think it was just before I moved, so 2015, they did the gay marriage referendum in Ireland, and I have two grandmothers. One of them hyper religious, like like running around touching statues religious, and the other one absolutely not religious in the slightest, like very kind of anti the church, if anything. And it was the one who is super religious that she voted yes for gay marriage, and it was the one who wasn't that voted no.
Counterintuitive to
and that to me always, I'm like, well, maybe you can't, just tar everyone with one brush, and it is down to personal beliefs, but for sure religion and those kind of issues, it's always going to be a bone of contention.
Yeah, I don't know, my thing is, as human beings, I mean, we're living in a society that feels almost more backwards than it was 20, 30 years ago, which is incredibly demoralizing. But like fundamentally, I don't know who I am or who you are or who anybody is to tell someone who they can or cannot love.
Yes.
It's like the most basic, fundamental thing that like we as human beings should be able to experience. And like what's worse is like, why does the government have the ability to say who you can marry or who I can marry? It's like, it's just backwards.
It is.
And that's ultimately one of the reasons why I have a big problem with religion, organized religion. I am super spiritual. I do believe in God and or he or she or they or whatever it might be. But it's just completely illogical to me that we would have these like archaic boundaries in place for people to like be in love. It's love.
Absolutely,
it's like the most pure fundamental thing of life. Yeah, it's like fucking depressing. It
is. And same with telling a woman what she can or can't do with her body. Same notion. It's like, well, I don't get to control that. Government or otherwise.
100%. I mean, in a lot of ways, we are like obviously as old as human beings will be, like in terms of our like existence, and still figuring it the fuck out in what can be described as a shit show. But yeah. All right, Freya, we've been enjoying.
We've been on a journey.
We've been on a journey, touching on a little bit of everything, and I've greatly, greatly enjoyed our talk. And
yes, me too.
As I finish all my podcasts, I like to give a recommendation. Could be a book, could be a movie, could be anything, really. Okay. Just give me a recommendation, give our listeners recommendations for something that you would like to see them try. Okay.
I just watched, actually, this is the answer to the question that you asked earlier when I was like, I don't really watch TV. And then I started talking about it. People are like, you sound like you watch a bit. But I just watched a show and I was so moved by it, and I think everyone should watch it. And it's a sin. It's a British show, and it's about a group of friends in the 80s in London living during the AIDS epidemic.
Ooh.
And it will like just gut you to your core, how people went through this and how little support they had and how little information was there. And it's just a really, really kind of primal watch. Like, it makes you super sad, it makes you angry, but also like it's uplifting in some parts. So I think that is a really great
Awesome
one for everyone to watch. And just, you know, as we were just talking about love and religion and everything, it just makes it all very human.
And what more could we ask for?
Exactly.
My recommendation will be sort of in line with that. As a photographer, as a, you know, hopeful, you know, take pictures for the rest of my life kind of guy, there is a documentary on HBO about Robert Mapplethorpe. I don't know if you're familiar.
I am, yes.
Look at the pictures. I don't know if that's the title of the documentary. I'll link it in the notes below. While the imagery of a lot of his stuff is incredibly graphic and, you know, not everyone's cup of tea, the sole focus that this man had on his dream to be a photographer and the vitriol in which he followed this dream is something to really like aspire to. And obviously a person who passed away because of the AIDS pandemic, you know,
Epidemic,
you call it, in the 90s. Super touching documentary, and it's just truly, I mean, as a photographer, the people who he photographed, the images that he was able to produce, you know, portrait sessions with every major human being on planet Earth, truly inspiring and a really good watch. And yeah, that would definitely be my recommendation. So
Freya, I'm going to take notes.
Yeah, take notes. I'll thank you so much for joining me. This was
Thank you for
so
having
much
me.
fun.
It was.
I can't wait to do this again in like 6 months and see that you're like the managing editor for XYZ magazine, and
put those personal ads on there.
Yeah,
make sure a recruiting person
this was
finds
so
out.
Great. I'll link Freya's Instagram and Twitter in the notes. Make sure to
She's
give her a
verified on
follow.
Twitter.
She's very funny on Twitter. We wouldn't be friends if she wasn't.
Yeah, not on Instagram. Don't worry.
All right, but you could see her awesome style on Instagram. And thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Sorry about Gigi barking.
That's okay.